Inky fingers. Well, today I got something. I'm doing this for you guys, not for me. I'm doing this for you. I got today in the mail some carbon ink, and this is supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to do two things: be waterproof and work with fountain pens. So we're just going to see if this works. And I don't have a time machine, so I can't actually zoom into the future very much to see if the pens are going to get completely destroyed. But I can find out whether they will flow and whether the ink is in fact permanent. And of course I didn't plan ahead, because evidently I don't have a tool I need here, so I'm using this one instead. So this is taking a little bit longer and these are pens that have not had any ink in them for probably decades. So we are not only doing that, but we're trying out I'm trying out two completely new pens to me. Okay, this one has air going through it, so that's good. So now we have to figure out what kind of sack can go in this pen. Now I was told that a pen that I'm going to use this ink in, I should dedicate for the use of this ink. I shouldn't take the ink out and put different ink in. I should just, once I make this decision to use this ink, I should keep this ink in this pen. So that's an easy enough thing for people to do. If you love using permanent inks, so you can do watercolor ink wash on top of it when you're done drawing, that's a perfectly good thing to want to do. If you only have one pen and you also like changing ink colors and doing other things like that, then I would not recommend this ink, because evidently now that's what I heard. I heard that from a source that makes sense, that he is correct, and his reasoning was correct. Now, I'm also using a pen. You can see here there's a little bit of warping to it. You know, I'm not putting this in a yellow dual fold worth a couple of $1,000. I'm putting it in a Sheaffer Craftsman pen that if for some reason the ink causes the whole thing to just explode, I'm not going to be upset too much. My cat now is probably going to want to join me. I don't know what's wrong with him. I gave him all sorts of food. I rubbed him behind his ears. I did everything I was supposed to do to make him happy. And I think he wants to play. I think he wants my 3/4 roommate to be back and to play with him. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering what a 3/4 roommate is, but I'll explain it to you. A 3/4 roommate is, in this case, or it doesn't have to be a 3/4. I mean, it could be some other fraction. If I did the math, it might be some other fraction. But it's there's a unit in my building that does not have plumbing. It was a subdivided space, and it was used for storage, and you are allowed to live in it provided you have the use of a bathroom somewhere else in the unit. So even though it's not zoned officially to be lived in, it's sort of like a bedroom that isn't connected to your house, or like a camper in the backyard. It's not really. I have to get this tool. Yes, it's here. It's right here. All I had to do is lift up something. Anyway, what he does with my cat is to play soccer or catch or some sort of sportive thing with the cat. He's trying to turn my cat into a dog, and I think he's getting pretty close to doing that. He's a dog lover, and he doesn't hate cats, but he doesn't love cats in the same way that I love cats. But we both love cats that are dog-like. I think he likes dogs that are dog-like. I do not like dogs that are dog-like. And I don't particularly like cats that are cat-like. Okay. So anyway, Orca is waiting for Matt to come down, because in addition to using my kitchen and my bathroom sometimes, Matt also uses my kitty, or abuses my kitty. No, he doesn't abuse my kitty. He uses my cat. And he doesn't appreciate Orca when Orca does his Orca thing, which is to bite. That's when he gets up and walks away, whereas I do not. Okay, now, normally I would wait a little bit for this to make sure this is sealed and everything, but I'm impatient. Okay, so we have ink in we have a sack rather in a Skyline pen with a flexible nib, and we have a sack in a Schaefer pen with a sort of broad, boring nib. I suppose I should have tested these out without any ink. But let's see if it works. Let's try this ink out. Is there anything I have to do? Shake well before doing? That's all of this information is not helpful. That doesn't help either. Nope, none of this is helpful. Thank you very much. Aha. Okay, I don't need another reservoir. I just want to know. Okay. I'm just I don't know if I have to shake this. This is a very sexy bottle. I don't know if I have to shake it, but I'm shaking it. Okay. Reservoir. Okay, this is again for you. I'm talking about you, not me. I'm talking about you. I'm trying this out for you. Well, I see what they mean by reservoir. Okay, why aren't you filling up? Okay, it's filling up. Okay. I'm not going to write with this right away. I'm just going to set it down, and now I'm going to fill this up. I know you're not seeing it. Okay, and now that one's full, and that one's full, and I will put the ink cover back on. on just so I don't cause any trauma later on, which happens when my cat jumps up here. Let's try Mr. Schaefer first. Now, of course, okay, is that helpful? Let's get going here. This ink has not been, I mean the pen has not been used for 50 years, so. Okay, let's let it start going here. I probably should have tried regular ink in this pen, because right now, see what's happening? I see little skipping bits. Now I write fast. I draw fast and I write fast, so that little skipping may be a bother. But maybe it's just that ink hasn't filled up the feed entirely. So I'm going to set this down. I'm not completely upset with this yet, but I might start getting to be upset with it. Okay, this seems fine. This ink has a very dull matte quality to it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It just seems very dull, not glossy. Now, maybe it dries more quickly or does something, or maybe it's just the light hitting it funny. So far, I'm not unhappy. So far, it seems to be doing a pretty good job. Now, if I were a more deliberate, slow artist and not a fast sort of sketcher, I would draw more slowly and think more slowly and talk more slowly, and you know, maybe it wouldn't have any of that skipping quality. Now, as you can see, that's happening. See what's happening? So the other thing I wanted to test out is just how long does it take for this ink to dry. If it takes an hour, that might be okay. If it takes a day and a half, that might not be okay. And I'm not sure exactly how to, again, I'm not a very patient person, but if I were using this ink as part of my urban sketch group, and went out and, like they often do, and draw for 2 hours and then go home, and an hour or two later I decide to add my watercolor, I would imagine it would be dried by then. I would hope it would be dry by then. So I realize this is a long video, so this is minute 14 is right here, so 2, 3, 4. This is minute 14, and this means I might have to draw for another 14 minutes to do a test here, because I wanted to, or 10 minutes, I wanted to see. Okay, and this is minute 14:38 with the skyline pen. Now, a big test is going to be tomorrow when I uncap these pens and see if they write. Because if they're clogged, we're going to have something else to say. And it's not going to be pretty. Many of my people that watch my videos get out their stopwatches because they know that at some point I'm going to say, God damn it. Usually at the end when I spill something, or when the cat jumps up, or when something happens. But I can say it right at the beginning of a video if I find that this is clogged up because of its problems. Okay, we're going to let that bake. I'm leaving these uncapped because that's sort of what happens when people do things like draw and are working at their desk and things like that. They leave things uncapped. And now I'm going to find a brush. And I'm going to find a brush that doesn't have already paint on it. Too much paint. Okay, I'm going to get okay, you ready to hear it? Yeah, damn it. Okay, here's some watercolors, Pelikan watercolors, and I'm going to pretend for just a second that I'm using clean water, which isn't exactly clean. There's some red. Pretty. Now it's sort of a grayish red. And let's pretend that I want to do that. That's pretty good. I don't see any bleeding. Now if I were to do that over here with ink that came, you see what's happening? It's bleeding. The bluish black ink is smearing and spreading. But here, it's not. So far we've passed 2 of the tests that we wanted to pass. First of all, now what's going on here? It's not quite as okay. Is it because there was a lot of ink and it's smearing, or it's not dry, or what? Maybe I should let it dry more. How does that look? Maybe you folks who've used this ink can give me a clue. So it's been 4 minutes since I did these. Let's see if these are dry yet. See, looks like a little bleeding there. And there seems to be bleeding here, which I kind of anticipated. Yes, so the big lines at the bottom have not dried. These seem to have dried. I mean, the ones I did at the beginning seem to have dried. So there is a drying time. So if I were to make a big long line with this pen and set my alarm on my pen my phone, this phone, every 10 minutes I would go make another line. I'd figure out how long it takes me to do the drawing. But so far the ink passes its test. I somehow feel, I didn't try these pens out with regular ink, but I somehow feel there's a little sluggishness in the way that it would flow. Where it's skipping a little bit. But again, it's doing that when I draw very fast. And maybe this ink is not going to be good for me, but it might be good for many of you who are slower and more deliberate with how you draw. But for me, it may end up not keeping up with me. But what I'd like all of you to do, all of you who have experience with this ink, this platinum carbon ink, this ink here, platinum carbon ink, to tell me in the comments below whether this ink works for you or not, or whether it causes your pens to clog, or whether whatever it does, whether it causes explosive diarrhea or thoughts of suicide or any of the side effects that come with products these days. And if there are side effects, let me know what they are, because I don't want to go through life with explosive diarrhea or more thoughts of suicide, more than I already have. That's the last thing I need. Oh, shall I kill myself by jumping off? Is it going to be defenestration today, or is it going to be the razor blades? Shall I do that overdose of pills, or just the gun? The gun is always easy, fast. I don't need suicidal thoughts. So anyway, 22 minutes and 50 seconds. Test this out again. My ink is not as pure as it was, my watercolor. Now I'm also using, I may be using, this is good paper to draw on. I'm not using watercolor paper. I don't think that would make any difference, but there are all sorts of factors involved in this kind of activity, and you can include that in your comments too. But it seems to work. I will give this ink so far a 9 out of 10. I thought for sure it was not going to do anything. It would clog my pens, it would bleed, it would cause me to have suicidal thoughts and explosive diarrhea, and none of that has happened. So far, dirty thumbs up for this ink. Thank you.